Welcome to the Moms Make Money podcast. I'm your host, Jenny. I'm the owner of Moms Make Money Collective, a podcast and visibility strategist and mom of two. Many moms feel like we need to sacrifice our careers for our children, but I wholeheartedly believe that we can have a thriving business and family at the same time. In this podcast, we're going to be diving into the ins and outs of running a business as a mom and getting real and raw about all things parenting. So buckle up because we're about to go all in. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the show. In this episode, we're talking about all the things you need as a mom entrepreneur. So to be honest, you don't need a ton of things as a mom entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur in general. I think we can all start our businesses pretty bare bones and then add on later as needed. But I wanted to share the bare minimum things you need to thrive as a mom entrepreneur. So in this episode, I didn't want to sit down and talk about the tools you need because I think those are going to be based upon your personal preference, your budget, etc. But I did want to touch on the practical things you need to have as a mom entrepreneur. So without further ado, let's dive into the episode. So first up, you need a plan. And it doesn't need to be a fully hashed out plan, but you need something to go off of. You want to sit down and think about what you want your offers to be, how often you want to work or are able to work, what platforms you want to show up on, how you want to show up in the world, all these different things. It's important to know. Think about, what do you want to offer services? Do you want to have products? Do you want to do a mix of both? What do you want? What is your end game goal? What's your income goal? What are your goals? That's just where we need to start. So a plan is really, really important to have in place when you are starting out your business as a mom entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in general. Next is flexibility. So as a mom with a business, flexibility is an absolute must. Even if you do have some sort of childcare for your kids, things can come up. I know that when my son first started daycare back in the summer of 2021, there was a 4 to 6 month period that was just totally unpredictable for me in business because he seemed to always be getting sick and I'd have to keep him home from school for days at a time. And that was something that just really threw me for a loop because although I did have childcare that I was paying for, I couldn't always send him because if he was sick, obviously I wasn't going to send him to school. Plus you weren't allowed to anyway, even if you wanted to, which I would never. But so you need flexibility, without childcare, definitely even more so. Because, you don't want to sit there and work and make your kid be on an iPad or watch TV all day. And, maybe their nap is, supposed to be an hour and a half, but they only nap for an hour and they only nap for 30 minutes. 30 minutes is obviously not enough time to get everything you need to get done. So, you might have to work at night sometimes. You might have to work on the weekends sometimes. You just need to be flexible because that's the only way that you're going to be able to make it work in this season of life because your kids are only little ones. You will have a consistent schedule eventually. So just be flexible and give yourself grace for sure. Next up, we have determination. So when you've got littles, it can be really easy to put yourself and your career ambitions on the back burner. But I really want to encourage you to keep pushing forward even when it feels really hard. You can totally be a mom and have a business at the same time. It's 100% possible. I know I've done it. I did start my business before I became a mom. However, I know so many moms who have started their businesses after having kids and are still very successful. The main thing that I saw in them is that they were determined to make it work no matter what. So that was the key thing, is just always having that determination, because some days it's hard. Some days you don't want to work. Some days your kids are just stressing you out and you want to work, but you can't because your kids are not cooperating. So you just need to continue being determined no matter what, through the easy seasons, through the hard seasons, and everything in between. And then last up, we have patience. So another key thing you need is patience. There are going to be some days where the last thing you want to do is work on your business because you're just so spent from the day. But you need to be patient with yourself. I know there are plenty of days where my son would only take a 30-minute nap, and I just felt hopeless because I had so much work that I needed to do that obviously did not fit in a 30-minute period. But just remember that it's a season. It's not forever. Some days you might have to work at night. Sometimes you might have to work weekends. That's okay. Just like being able to stay home with your babies and spend more time with them is so much more worth it than having to be gone from them every single day from 8 to 5 or even longer, because, if you work a traditional 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, you have to drop off your kids at school much earlier so that you can make it to work on time. So they're spending, 12 plus hours a day in daycare, 11 hours a day in daycare. So being able to be home with them is just, obviously super wonderful. So just be patient, give yourself grace, and always know that it's just a season. And you're going to hear that a lot from me over the next couple episodes throughout this podcast in general. Everything is a season. The season that I'm in now with my 3-year-old is a lot different than the season I'm about to be in with a newborn in a couple months. So we just need to give ourselves grace, be patient with ourselves, and keep up the good work, because running a business with babies is so challenging sometimes. I know that. I'm not discounting that whatsoever, but just keep your head up and be patient with yourself. That's all I ask for you. So next week, we're going to be talking about why moms in business need to take maternity leave. So if you are currently expecting or you're planning to get pregnant soon, whether that's with your first child or your second, third, fourth, whatever, then you won't want to miss this episode, because I think so many people forget as self-employed people that taking maternity leave is beneficial for you as well. And if you are listening to the show on Apple Podcasts and you're enjoying the episode so far, if you could just go and leave me a quick rating and review, it means so much to me. That helps me so much. I love hearing what you have to say. And yeah, it just means the world to me. But that is it for today's episode. If you want to check out the show notes for this episode, you can go to momsmakemoneycollective.com/podcast and find everything you need there. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'd love it if you would head on over to our free Facebook group called Moms Make Money Collective to connect with us further. If you're more of an Instagram fan, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Moms Make Money Collective. If you're loving the show, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast. Your feedback means the absolute world to us. We'll see you in the next episode.